Hi, PerspectiveWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday, May 18th. There are three main players impacting the eastern U.S. as we begin the new work week. First of all, strong, cold, high pressure situated over southeastern Canada. There's an upper level low kind of meandering over the Midwest. It'll slip on over the Tennessee Valley over the next couple of days. That too is a main player for the eastern half of the nation. And finally, we have Tropical Storm Arthur, which is the first tropical system of the 2020 Atlantic Basin season. It'll impact the Outer Banks of North Carolina today and then curve on to the east and out to sea on Tuesday. Before we get to the current weather situation, just thought I'd show this video, this imagery loop of visible images from 40 years ago. Mount St. Helens in the southwestern part of the state of Washington erupted, and this is actual GOES 3 visible imagery right here showing the explosion that sent a lot of ash up into the atmosphere 40 years ago on May 18th in 1980. It did kill some people that were actually hiking nearby at the time of the eruption in the southwestern part of Washington. Again, Mount St. Helens, May 18th, 1980. Well, let's take a look at the satellite imagery from today. This is from the College of DuPage weather website. Three main players, again, quite easily apparent here, easily visible on the satellite imagery. First of all, Tropical Storm Arthur impacting the Outer Banks of North Carolina today. It will kind of run into a roadblock in the upper part of the atmosphere as high pressure sits over the southeastern part of Canada. All these clear skies here associated with that strong cold high pressure system across the southeastern part of Canada. That is promoting some easterly winds in the lower part of the atmosphere into the mid-Atlantic region. Will keep us cooler than normal during much of the first half of the work week. This system, Tropical Storm Arthur, will be kind of forced to shun off to the east and out to sea on Tuesday as it moves over colder and colder sea surface temperatures. But again, it will have an impact on the Outer Banks today with gusts certainly up to 45, 50 miles per hour or so, and of course some heavy rain bands as well. Meanwhile, you could also see a spin in the atmosphere right here over the upper part of the Midwest today. This only slowly drops south and east over the next few days over the Tennessee Valley by the middle part of the week, and then it kind of gets finally kicked on out to the east late in the week as a kind of a weakened system as compared with what it is right now. But again, three main players impacting the eastern half of the nation. Upper level low over the upper Midwest that drops to the Tennessee Valley. Tropical Storm Arthur near the Outer Banks of North Carolina. A lot of high pressure over the southeastern part of Canada. Well, speaking of Tropical Storm Arthur, we did talk about the possibility of an early start to the tropical season here based on the cold April and May in much of the eastern part of the nation, the mid-Atlantic region, northeastern U.S., cold relative to normal. Oftentimes when it's a chilly spring in that part of the nation, we have an early start to the tropical season, kind of the same pattern that produces the cooler than normal weather in the Northeast during April and May can contribute to some tropical activity down across the Gulf of Mexico, southwestern Atlantic, earlier than normal. And the official start of the tropical season is June 1st. That's just, of course, just a kind of an arbitrary choice chosen by man and not nature. Each of the last 5 years, as a matter of fact, we've had a pre-June 1st tropical system now in the Atlantic Basin. 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, and now 2020. All of those seasons had above normal activity and a June 1st tropical system. Here's a look at the latest sea surface temperature anomalies, and we do expect an active season. Now, just because you have a early season tropical system does not guarantee an active season. However, in this case, I do believe we will have above normal activity, largely based on the development of La Nina. And here we go. This is kind of the beginning signs here of La Nina. We know there's a lot of colder than normal water just below the surface in the equatorial part of the Pacific. Some of that is now bubbling up or through upwelling reaching the surface here, and La Nina is forming. And again, that is one of the main factors in our expectation of an above normal tropical season in the Atlantic Basin. We have the tropical outlook out there at perspectiveweather.com. Meanwhile, in the Atlantic Ocean, a couple interesting things I want to point out. First of all, still above normal conditions in much of the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean Sea, and parts of the southwestern Atlantic. And Arthur had its origin down in this region over the Florida Straits, now up over the eastern part of North Carolina. We'll be heading out to colder and colder sea surface temperatures, so really should not intensify much from this point, impacting the Outer Banks today, and then kind of shunting off to the east, curving out to sea on Tuesday, and it should begin to weaken. But this is an area we'll have to monitor here. Colder than normal temperatures now showing up basically along the New England coastline, down across part of the Mid-Atlantic region, in the western part of the Atlantic Ocean. An interesting feature, something we'll monitor closely over the next few weeks. It could, in fact, have some kind of an impact on the Atlantic Basin tropical season, at least later on and maybe during the second half of the season. We'll see if that trend continues. But again, La Nina showing signs of indeed forming over the tropical part of the Pacific Ocean. Well, let's take a look at last night's 0-6Z run of the operational version of the GFS. Three big players here. Again, we talked about an upper level low with a surface reflection of low pressure here over the upper Midwest. Tropical storm Arthur now bearing down on the Outer Banks, and very, very large, cold, high pressure situated across southeastern Canada. This high pressure system is promoting an east to northeast flow of air into the Mid-Atlantic region. The ocean temperature is still below normal, or still rather cold this time of the year, and actually below normal now in parts of the western Atlantic. So that will contribute to below normal temperatures, air temperatures, for much of the first half of the week in places like D.C., Philadelphia, New York City. And not only cooler than normal, but the moisture from the ocean will keep plenty of clouds around over the next few days. Not a lot of rain, though. Maybe some drizzle, patchy shower activity, but not a heck of a lot of rain over the next few days. Earlier last week, thought this would be a very wet week in the Mid-Atlantic region. That is no longer the case. Certainly not in the first half of the week. There may be some enhanced shower activity in Thursday night, Friday time frame. But because of Arthur moving on out to sea and the very, very slow movement of that upper level low, not much rain at all in the Mid-Atlantic region over the next few days. Let's move forward here. Watch what happens. Again, Arthur starts to weaken as it starts to encounter colder and colder sea surface temperatures. Here we are by Tuesday morning. It already impacted the Outer Banks at this time. It's now starting to curve out to sea. But look at this very, very strong high to the north. And if anything, it intensifies over the next 24 hours or so. And between the combination of that strong high to the north and Arthur moving off into the open waters of the western Atlantic, we'll have quite a tight pressure gradient. Winds will actually become more noticeable, become stronger on Tuesday from the east to the northeast. And again, that pushes in cooler than normal air and more moist air, plenty of clouds around, and certainly below normal temperatures thanks to that large, large cold high to the north. And meanwhile, that upper level low starting to spin, just meandering around now the Tennessee Valley as of Tuesday. And let's keep moving forward here. It is a very slow mover. Meanwhile, that high still in control at midweek, situated at that time over the New England area. And here again, we have clockwise flow of air around the high, counterclockwise flow of air around the low, still pushing ocean air into the Mid-Atlantic region during the middle part of the week. And here's that upper level low starting to finally open up, and it does eventually kick on out. And by the time we get to the latter part of Thursday night into Friday, it certainly can produce some rainfall in the Mid-Atlantic region at that time. But again, the next few days, not a heavy amount of rainfall expected in the Mid-Atlantic region. There could be plenty of drizzle, maybe some light rain at times, especially down south of the Mason-Dixon line in D.C., for example, today and tonight. But I don't think significant. Maybe later in the week, Thursday night, Friday time frame, when that upper level low finally kicks on out of here, and it's still kind of sitting and spinning around in the area into the early part of the weekend. Maybe decent weather shaping up for the latter part of the upcoming weekend. So again, three main players we're monitoring as we begin the new work week. Tropical Storm Arthur, the first tropical system of the 2020 Atlantic Basin season, impacts the Outer Banks today and then out to sea tomorrow. Upper level low over the Midwest right now. The upper Midwest will kind of just meander over the Tennessee Valley over the next few days. Finally kicks on out to the east, maybe producing some more decent rainfall for the Mid-Atlantic region Thursday night, Friday time frame. All week long, strong cold high pressure situated to the north first over southeastern Canada, then New England will keep much of the Mid-Atlantic region below normal temperature-wise with plenty of cloud cover. That's it for now. For PerspectiveWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.